Class, so today we're going to be working on our last lesson before the quarterfinal, and the title of this is Translating a Graph to an Equation. But that's actually the second tab here. The first tab is all about vertical shift. So we learned about horizontal shift, and that involves the C value here. But vertical shift just shifts your graph up or down by whatever value you have added on to the end of this whole function. So if you think about parent functions that we learned about last year, like y equals x squared, hopefully a lot of you remember that that was a parabola that looked like this. And if we added something to it, that changed the y-intercept. So say I'd changed it to x squared plus 4. Then what's that going to do? Well, it's going to shift it up 4 units. In other words, we could have called this the vertical shift. It's just the number that's added on to our parent function, and that's what we have over here. So vertical shift, maybe I should use the same colors as before. Vertical shift is just this D value right here. That's the only change to what we've learned. And you can notice that it's the same for sine and cosine. So we're not going to do two different examples or anything, but the vertical shift will be the same for both of them. So if you go ahead and open up your foldable, the steps for this are very, very similar. You're going to, 1, identify your amplitude, which is A. And let me write our, let's do sine. So A sine of bx minus c plus d on the end. So we identify our amplitude. We're going to identify our period, which is 2 pi divided by b. Our horizontal shift is going to be c over b. We learned all that before. And now our vertical shift is just going to be d. So that's how much we move up or down. Step 2, you're going to determine your x values. So find x values. Again, you begin with c over b. So if you have a horizontal shift, once you find all your x values, then you're going to find your y values. By plugging in, and then 4th, you're going to graph. And it's important to notice that there's nothing you have to actually do with D. When you work out the y values, you will see that the vertical shift occurs. So no need to do anything with D. It'll just be a part of step 3. Okay, so let's take a look at how it affects the way our graph looks. So if we look at our lesson from yesterday, we can kind of see, or 2 days ago, we can kind of see this is what we had whenever we did horizontal shift. So now we're basically going to have this same graph, but now we're going to shift it up or down for the vertical. So I'm going to start off with my D, my vertical shift. That's going to shift my center. So my highest point is actually going to be D plus my amplitude. And my lowest point will be somewhere down here. And it will be D minus my amplitude. So you can see that whenever you go to create your graph, it's based around your vertical shift. It's no longer based around the x-axis. Then we go ahead and just write in our x values, which if we have a horizontal shift, it won't be starting at the origin. And we know that our first point for sine is going to be right here at x sub 1, and then our vertical shift. And it's just going to go up back down, and back up again. So it'll be something like that. And you can see your amplitude still there. You can see that your period is still there. It's going to be 2 pi over b. And you can see that you have that horizontal and vertical shift now. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight everything just the way I did and everything else. So my amplitude still going to do the same color. So everything is matching. And my B, that affects my period. And it also is a part of my horizontal shift. My horizontal shift comes from C, and that's going to be right here, shifts it over some. And now we have this new value of D, and that changes where our center is. And that's going to change this right here. And that's it. So it basically just takes your whole graph and shifts it up some, but while you're doing the actual algebra, there's nothing new that you're going to do. You'll see it happen whenever you create your y values. So let's go ahead and we're not even going to do an example with the vertical shift. Right now I'll have you do a practice problem and we'll see how that goes. But what this graph, or what this lesson is called, is translating a graph to an equation. So that's what we're going to do next.